To be a champion, I think you have to see the big picture. A quote by Summer Sanders. This is a continuation of understanding the difference of emotional intelligence and social intelligence. My name is Tony Davis, coming to you from MOE, Public Speaking Leadership Academy. MOE just stands for Mastermind Organized Effort. And the mastermind is not just me and my thinking. The mastermind is multiple people coming together with their knowledge, their experience, their life experience more so, and those things that they have learned in life, and here to help one another avoid some of the pitfalls, but also to enlighten one another just as well. My goal is to just bring the mastermind together so that way we can reach out to a broader audience, but also at the same time, allow that audience to come to us and share with us some of their experience, strength, and hope, and some of the things that they did when they fell into that pit and how they got out, in order for us to avoid some of them. So today I'm going to spend a little bit of time. Once again, this is a continuation. And I'm going to just talk about emotional intelligence on a level of leadership. In leadership, there is positional leadership. There is title leadership. However, what's the difference between positional leadership and title leadership? There really is not a difference, except for if you do not know how to be emotionally intelligent, and not just for yourself, but toward the other person. It could be your coworker, your colleague, an employee or an employer. More so, as I talked about in my previous video, who's in our household and what happens once we get up in the morning, and how we begin to understand the emotions that we are going through and putting a name to that emotion in order to understand how it works and what is going to be the outcome if we react on that emotion. Now, emotions we're talking about is sad, happy, angry, anxious, depressed, things like that. So, and once again, I'll as we go along in other videos, because I'm going to do a few videos on this, because I think it's very important for us to begin to understand the importance of emotional intelligence and social intelligence in today's society. With COVID, we know that we were shut off. We were shut off from one another. We were shut off from interacting. And still today, in 2025, we're still in post-COVID. And I say that because you ask someone, or better yet, say good morning to someone, and you may get a good morning back, or you may get what's so good about it. What is truly happening with that other individual emotionally? And then staying self-aware. So I believe I explained, or I talked about the three pillars: self-awareness, regulation, and empathy. Now, in leadership starts really with self, because as within, so without. So, and as we know, leadership is not something that you're born with. Leadership is something that is developed over time. And I say it because we know times change. Nothing ever truly stays the same. So your leadership systems has to change just as well too. And sometimes we have to find mentors, coaches, or go back to school to develop a greater leadership capability in order to motivate, inspire, and drive our teams to success. But first, that starts with self-awareness within us. For myself, I thought I really knew how to identify my feelings and my emotions and put a name to it, but I really didn't. I was guessing until I began to study, read certain books, and begin to ask myself certain questions. And one of those questions that I asked myself when I started feeling a certain emotion, what is it? And why am I feeling that? And where did it come from? When I didn't ask myself that, I was in a world of mess within my own mind because I couldn't figure it out. And when I engaged with someone, I couldn't engage with them fully, and I couldn't feel them on an emotional level in order to make the connection because I was dealing with my own internal emotional battle. So once I started studying, reading, and on the next video, I'm going to suggest a book, maybe two, that I think might help bring a greater understanding and some clarity to emotional intelligence as well as social intelligence. So I know for myself, when I began to do that, and I began to really take a look within me and begin to identify those feelings of anxiousness. Why am I anxious? Why am I feeling hurt? Why am I feeling discarded? Why am I feeling like, oh, somebody is not hearing me? And all those other feelings and emotions that come along with that. But once I begin to understand and put a name to it, and I start to ask myself another question, if I act upon it, what is going to be the end result? I own a small construction company, and I have some employees, but also I have clients that I have to interact with. Some I know and some I don't know. So in engaging with potential clients, I have to use my listening skills, which I had to develop. And I say develop because of all the other voices inside my head. You got to do this, you got to do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. Oh, you got to be here, you got to be here. Oh, you got to. So all those voices was going on in my head, and I wasn't truly able to listen to the client, and not just yet the client, but the people in my home just as well too. So I couldn't identify with them emotionally, and by not identifying with them emotionally, I lost. Well, not lost because they didn't fall in my pocket. I wasn't able to seal the deal. And at home, it caused a disconnection because, Pop, you got so much stuff on your mind, you can't hear what I'm saying. So once I began to practice some emotional intelligence in my own life, I began to understand that it's also social on the outside. And being the leader, the boss, the employer, there was a purpose. There was something for me to do. I had to lead my team. I had to lead my team to victory. And I had to do that by beginning to understand them on a deeper level than just saying, I'm the general, you're going to do what I say, and if you don't do what I say, then that's it. Oh, why are you here late? Why are you dragging? Why this? I did not take the time to ask, what's happening with you? What's really going on with you? Come on, let's sit down for a minute. No, forget about work. Come on, what are you angry? Why are you angry, man? Or why are you anxious? What's happening? So that way, I'm caring for this individual on a deeper level, on an emotional level, and now I can connect with them and I can engage with them, and we can get into a solution base instead of being in problem base. And when that happened, productivity skyrocketed. But not just productivity, but also the engagement skyrocketed. So what I'm getting at is that in leadership, we have to be more emotionally aware of ourselves, but also more emotionally aware of those people that we're engaging with. And once again, it could be a colleague at work. There may be someone that you don't like, and they bring up this emotion in you, and they walk into the room or the office, and the first thing you do is you cringe. Oh. Why? Think about that. What emotion are you feeling? And if you continue to feel that emotion, think about it. You take it home with you. And when you go home, you talk to your husband, your wife, or your friend about it for hours. But the other person is doing something else with their energy and their time. I guarantee once you identify what that emotion is and why you're cringing, you'll stop. And you'll be able to better utilize your energy, but you'll also be able to better utilize some engagement, better engagement with this individual. Because you become more self-aware of who you are. Now you become that leader that is understandable. You become that leader that people can relate to, other than your title or your position. Because some folks are only going to follow you as long as your title goes or your position goes. But after that, you're on your own. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. A leader is going to understand truly from a human standpoint of what someone else is going through and how to get that person to become much more productive, because you have a goal to meet. You have a job that you have to do. They have a job that they got to do. And by you being a leader, you got to know how to lead. You got to know how to eliminate distraction, motivate, and inspire in order to get the job done. And that's in the workplace, your company, or at home, including when you step out into the public and you meet different people that you may not know. By beginning to have some self-awareness in your leadership capabilities, you're going to be able to be aware of others' emotions and that emotions that they're dealing with at that particular time. And you'll know whether to engage or whether not to engage, whether to allow that person just to vent, and you don't have to engage because now you have identified that feeling, that emotion that they're dealing with. And that's on a social side. So one of the key takeaways that I want you to take away, at least I hope so, is that in me as a leader, as a true leader, don't just rely on your position. Don't rely on your position. In order to get more productivity and more growth, and I had to learn this the hard way because I squandered a lot of opportunities by allowing my emotions to overweigh the logic. So today I'm still learning and I'm still developing that self-awareness. I'm still managing how to regulate my feelings and my emotions before I engage. I do the best I can to stay in a solution-based mindset and not in a problem-based mindset, because then my emotions are all over the place, and when I'm socially active, I can't be socially active because I'm so caught up here and the emotions have taken over and they're dictating which way I go. A key takeaway is becoming self-aware. Become more self-aware. Start identifying those emotions that you begin to feel. You know when you begin to, you know when you're boiling up inside, because you know who knows you better than you know you. No one. So that key takeaway, just become a little more self-aware. The second one is do a little more research on emotional intelligence and social intelligence. And I guarantee, and this is also about communication. Okay, public speaking is about communication. Everything is about communication, and we have to understand that 70% of the communication that we have is nonverbal. It's nonverbal. Get to understand that. And once we begin to reattach to one another and begin to identify certain things, I guarantee your productivity, but also your interaction is going to become different. Second key takeaway is that in everything we do, we communicate differently. And there are different communication barriers and boundaries and platforms. However, no matter which platform it is or whatever boundary there is, if we're and we practice in those things and staying mindful, we're going to be okay. I'm still in practice. I'm still in study every day. Every day before I start my day, I find me a quiet place. And I go and I pray and ask God to guide me, lead me, and help me to understand me today and those things that I need to do. And then I do a little bit of meditation and think about, I get inside and say, why am I feeling this feeling? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling happy? Am I feeling calm? And I begin to identify with me first. So that way, when I begin to identify with staff, I begin to talk to clients or potential clients, I'm somewhat kind of grounded. And I can feel certain things coming up in me, and I know how to regulate my feelings and my emotions to keep certain things at bay. But once I begin to identify them, I know how to engage. Last but not least, just remember that leadership, whether you're a mother, father, friend, sister, brother, employee, employer, colleague, whenever you engage with somebody, you have the ability to lead and inspire and change a life. So please keep that in mind. Tony Davis coming to you from Mastermind Organized Effort Public Speaking Leadership Academy. If this video resonated with you or you were able to use something from this video, please comment, give a thumbs up, a share, and a like. Thank you so much.